What if I told you Alexander Graham Bell didn't invent the telephone, he merely patented it? Imagine a brilliant mind, driven by love and the desperate need to connect with those we cherish, only to be shadowed by financial might and legal maneuvering. This is the story of Antonio Meucci, a man whose groundbreaking innovation was buried beneath layers of injustice, poverty, and the relentless pursuit of profit. Antonio Meucci was born in Florence, Italy, in 1808. From his early years, he displayed an insatiable curiosity about the mechanics of the world. Trained in mechanical and chemical engineering, he nurtured a passion for understanding how things worked, a passion that soon led him to explore the mysteries of sound. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Meucci was fascinated by the idea that human voice could travel over wires, bridging the echoes of separation with the promise of connection. In the mid-19th century, when communication was limited to hand-delivered messages and written letters, Meucci dared to dream of something radically different. His inspiration was born not from the desire for fame but from a deep, personal need to speak with his ailing wife, Esther. With her confined to her sickbed, their separation was cruel, and his heart ached with the distance. Driven by love and determination, he began experiments in transmitting human speech electrically. In 1854, he succeeded in creating the first working telephone system, a device he lovingly called the teletrafono. This invention, accomplished nearly 22 years before Bell's well-known patent, was not a product of commercial ambition but of heartfelt necessity. Meucci's laboratory became a place of relentless experimentation. Within its modest walls, between flashes of ingenuity and moments of despair, he crafted a technology that could carry a voice across distances previously thought insurmountable. Over the period from 1854 to 1860, he conducted multiple demonstrations in New York, where local newspapers published accounts of his work. Eyewitnesses testified that his voice transmission system was real, its clarity undeniable, and its potential limitless. Yet, despite these impressive achievements, Meucci faced a challenge that many innovators dread: the crippling force of poverty. Imagine the frustration of discovering a breakthrough, only to find that the means to secure its future lie just out of reach. The full U.S. patent for an invention of such magnitude would have cost a daunting $250, a sum that would have been a fortune at the time. Meucci, bound by the constraints of poverty, could only afford a temporary patent caveat, a modest filing fee of $10. This caveat, although a legal acknowledgement of his invention in 1871, came with a fatal catch. It necessitated annual renewals, a burden that Meucci, wrestling with financial hardship, could not sustain. By 1874, the caveat expired, and with it, his opportunity to secure lasting recognition for his groundbreaking work. At this pivotal moment, the stage was set for a dramatic twist in the narrative of technological progress. Just 2 years after Meucci's temporary patent lapsed, an opportunity arose for another ambitious inventor. Alexander Graham Bell, supported by a network of influential backers and legal experts, stepped into the spotlight. Bell's financial resources and professional support allowed him to file a robust patent application, a move that would forever alter the course of history. As Bell's telephone captured the public's imagination, Meucci's earlier achievements were gradually obscured by a shadow of commercial success and legal authority. A series of suspicious occurrences fueled the controversy. The prototypes and models that Meucci had painstakingly developed were stored in a laboratory, a facility that, in a twist of fate, later became associated with Bell's enterprise. Meucci claimed that his models were lost, or perhaps even stolen, during this tumultuous period. The very instruments that had once validated his experiments seemed to vanish into the bureaucratic labyrinth of corporate ambition. Witnesses to Meucci's early demonstrations, including newspaper accounts and personal testimonies, testified undeniably to the fact that he had successfully transmitted a clear human voice over wires. Yet, Despite this compelling evidence, history chose to remember the man with the financial clout, rather than the man with the ingenious mind. As tension mounted, Meucci found himself embroiled in a series of intense legal battles. The U.S. government, recognizing the immense public interest in this revolutionary technology, questioned the legitimacy of Bell's claim. Meucci bravely took the stand, testifying under oath about the origins of his invention. In court after court, the evidence he had provided, detailed records of experiments, witness statements, and the very design of his teletrafono, spoke volumes about his pioneering work. Yet, the trials concluded with no definitive legal vindication. The weight of influential financial interests and the intricacies of patent law ultimately tilted the scales in favor of Bell's claims. Even as multiple courts acknowledged that Meucci's work preceded Bell's patent, the momentum of history had already turned. Bell's company continued to flourish, and Meucci's legacy was relegated to a series of footnotes in textbooks and historical records. In 1889, as the world marveled at the conveniences of modern communication, Antonio Meucci passed away in relative obscurity and poverty. The man who had once dared to imagine a world without distance, who had engineered a method to carry a voice across the ether, died with his dreams unfulfilled and his contributions largely forgotten. It was not until 2002 that the United States House of Representatives finally took a moment to acknowledge his work, officially recognizing his contribution to the invention of the telephone. But by that time, the narrative had long been dominated by the story of Alexander Graham Bell, and Meucci's name was whispered in the corridors of history rather than celebrated as it deserved to be. Today, we are left with a poignant and powerful question: how many other brilliant minds have been overshadowed by the relentless might of money and legal maneuvering? How many revolutionary ideas have been lost in the shadows of corporate and financial interests? Antonio Meucci's story is not just a chronicle of scientific ingenuity. It is a stark reminder of the injustices that have shaped the way we honor and remember innovation. His journey teaches us that history often rewards those with the means to amplify their achievements rather than those whose brilliance is hampered by circumstance. As we reflect on Meucci's life, we are compelled to consider the fragile balance between innovation and recognition. His voice, once amplified by the miracle of his invention, was stifled by the harsh realities of poverty and an unforgiving patent system. His struggles reveal a truth that resonates deeply even in our modern era. True innovation, fueled by passion and necessity, can be easily smothered by the structures designed to protect it. The legacy of Antonio Meucci challenges us to look beyond the conventional narratives of invention. It invites us to celebrate the unsung heroes, whose contributions have paved the way for the technologies we now take for granted. Moreover, his journey forces us to re-examine the values that underpin our celebrated milestones. Is it fair that history honors those? With the financial resources to secure patents and legal battles, while the pure, unfettered creativity of those less fortunate is forgotten? Meucci's perseverance in the face of overwhelming adversity is a story of resilience and courage that continues to inspire a deep emotional response. His struggle is one of many that invites us to reconsider the true cost of innovation and the societal factors that determine who gets remembered and who is consigned to oblivion. Antonio Meucci's life was marked by both profound brilliance and crushing hardship. His engineering marvel, the teletrafono, was a revolutionary step toward modern communication, yet it was born out of necessity and nurtured in obscurity. The devices he built were not merely technological contrivances, they were powerful symbols of human ingenuity and the enduring quest to connect with one another despite the barriers of time and space. His contributions remind us that the sparks of genius can be ignited in even the humblest of environments, often under conditions of great personal sacrifice. The narrative of Antonio Meucci is a clarion call to all who value the true spirit of innovation. It is a story that transcends the technical details of electrical circuits and sound waves. It speaks to the heart of what it means to be a pioneer. an underdog, and a visionary who dared to dream beyond the limitations imposed by society. As we trace the arc of his life, from the bustling streets of Florence to the crowded stages of New York, we are drawn into a saga of passion, perseverance, and an unyielding commitment to the pursuit of progress. Now, as we stand at the crossroads of history and modernity, the lessons of Antonio Meucci resonate more than ever. His work, a beacon of innovation born out of desperate need and profound love, challenges us to question the nature of credit and legacy in the realm of invention. His story is a reminder that the loudest voices in history are not always the first to speak; they are often the ones amplified by power, wealth, and institutional support. Meanwhile, those who spark the initial flame, who push the boundaries of what is possible, may be left in the shadows, their brilliance waiting to be rediscovered. In closing, let the legacy of Antonio Meucci serve as both an inspiration and a cautionary tale. The invention that changed the world did not come from the boardroom of a wealthy investor, but from the humble workshop of a man driven by love and necessity. His remarkable journey compels us to look beyond the surface of celebrated milestones and to recognize the many untold stories of genius that have been eclipsed by the forces of money and power. As we marvel at our modern conveniences, we must remember that every innovation carries with it the echoes of struggle, sacrifice, and the unyielding quest for connection. If you believe that history must honor the unsung heroes who dared to dream big despite insurmountable odds, subscribe to Factimized and explore more untold stories of historical figures whose contributions were overshadowed by fame and financial might.